Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're looking at something pretty special.
Yeah.
It's a letter.
Okay.
And it's a letter from a man named Suresh Kumar Makam.
Mm-hmm.
And he's writing to his nephew.
Okay.
And the letter is about his nephew's mother,
Okay.
Gulabakka, who has just passed away. And it's clear from the letter that she was a remarkable woman.
Yeah, you can feel
Yeah.
the grief in this letter, but also there's this sense of awe too.
Yes.
Like he calls her a live flame of spirituality.
Yes, a live flame of spirituality.
And you get the sense that this isn't just like a poetic flourish.
Right.
It's really like a key to understanding her whole life.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit.
Okay.
What do you think he means when he says live flame of spirituality?
Well,
How did Gulabakka live that out?
he describes her as a silent guardian of hearts of faith.
Silent guardian of hearts of faith.
And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful image, right?
Yeah.
And I think that gets at it she wasn't leading a movement or preaching or anything.
Right, yeah.
It was this quiet faith and this quiet consistency
Yeah.
that really touched the people around her.
And it seems like her faith was really rooted in the teachings of Shri Ramchandraji Maharaj of Shahjahanpur.
Yeah, they called him Appa.
They called him Appa.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it was just about attending the ceremonies or, going through the motions.
Yeah, he talks about her daily practice,
Right.
her silent spiritual work
Right.
as just a constant feature in her life.
It sounds like it was woven into everything she did.
Yeah, and it wasn't showy. It was just how she lived.
Right. So it was about this inner commitment, this constant practice, rather than outward displays of faith.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the silent guardian part comes in,
Mm-hmm.
because he talks about how people would just feel peace and comfort around her. Like she was this unseen source of solace and strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like she wasn't even really aware of the impact she was having.
Really?
She was just being herself,
Wow.
living in this quietly devoted way.
It's pretty amazing. But it sounds like life wasn't always easy for her.
Yeah.
The letter hints at some pretty significant challenges.
He describes her as very gullible, innocent, sublime. And you get the sense that
Yeah.
people took advantage of that sometimes,
Mhm.
of her good nature, her willingness to trust. He even mentions a specific incident where she lost a lot of money.
Really?
Her life savings, actually,
Oh, wow.
because of somebody's dishonesty.
It's heartbreaking. It's like her very innocence made her vulnerable.
Yeah, and yet she never
Yeah.
became bitter or cynical.
Yeah.
She never wavered in her faith or her devotion.
It's incredible.
He compares her to a loyal soldier.
Yeah.
Steadfast, unwavering, even when things were hard.
He even uses the example of Ayaz, the commander of Muhammad Ghazni, known for his unwavering loyalty.
Right.
And it's such a powerful comparison. It highlights this incredible inner strength.
And you think about it. She's going through these difficult things,
Yeah.
but she's also this source of support for everyone around her.
Yeah.
It's almost like she was absorbing the negativity and transmuting it into strength that she could share.
Wow. That's a powerful image. There's also this other interesting layer to her story.
Oh, yeah.
And that's this connection she had with Shri Babuji Maharaj.
Right.
Um,
Shri Babuji Maharaj was the successor to Appa.
okay.
So the spiritual leader who was so important in Gulabakka's life.
And their connection seems like it was really special.
It does, he mentions. That she was like a blue-eyed child to Babuji Maharaj, playing in his lap during his visits.
It sounds so playful, childlike.
Yeah, but there's a deeper meaning there.
Yeah, what is it?
The author suggests that most people weren't even aware of her true spiritual stature.
Really?
Like her purity and innocence were so profound that they masked this deep inner wisdom, this connection to something bigger.
Wow, so it's like she was hiding in plain sight, this incredible soul disguised in the everyday. And that brings me to a question that I have.
Okay.
The author really emphasizes her role as a protector, too.
Yeah.
A guardian angel, he calls her, watching over him and his family. So how does that fit in with this idea of her being this hidden spiritual giant?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
And that's what we'll look at in the next part of our deep dive.
All right. Sounds good to me. All right. So we're back. And before the break, we were talking about how Gulabakka was described as this powerful spiritual force, but also someone who lived with such humility and simplicity. And I'm curious, the letter writer, Suresh Kumar Makam, talks about her as this guardian angel figure,
Oh, yeah.
especially for his family.
Yeah.
How do those two ideas fit together?
That's a great question. It's like this paradox, right?
Yeah.
This quiet, unassuming presence, but also this incredible protective force. And I think it speaks to a deeper truth about spiritual strength. It doesn't always have to be loud or showy. Sometimes the most powerful forms of protection come from a place of quiet, unwavering love.
Yeah, he gives some really interesting examples of this too, like how she would always be praying for their well-being, sending them blessings even when they were far away.
Yes, and he even talks about how her influence seemed to extend beyond his immediate family. He mentions that even his students' families in Australia and America
Right.
would feel this sense of peace and protection from her.
That's what really struck me too. How is that even possible? Did she ever travel to those places? Did she meet these people?
From the letter, it doesn't sound like she did. It seems like it was more subtle, more energetic. It's like she was sending out these waves of love and support that transcended physical boundaries.
That makes me think about all the ways that we're connected to each other that we don't even fully understand. Like, are we all sending out these kinds of vibes, impacting people without even realizing it?
It's definitely something to ponder. And it speaks to a broader point about interconnectedness. We often think of impact in terms of direct action. But what if there's more to it than that?
Right.
What if our thoughts, our intentions, our very presence can have ripple effects that we can't even see?
That's a mind-blowing idea. And it makes me think about the kind of legacy that Gulabakka left behind. It wasn't about material possessions or fame. It was about this intangible but incredibly powerful spiritual impact.
And it wasn't just something that she cultivated in life. Even in her final moments, the letter describes how she was bestowing blessings on Makam's students. Like she was consciously extending her love and support, making sure it continued even after she was gone.
That's really beautiful. And it goes back to that idea of her being this live flame of spirituality, right? Even as her physical life was coming to an end, that inner light was still shining.
Exactly. And it makes me think about what we're leaving behind. What kind of energy are we putting out into the world? What kind of ripples are we creating with our lives?
It's a powerful question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes me want to be more mindful of my own thoughts and actions, knowing that they could be having an impact beyond what I can see.
I think that's a key takeaway from Gulabakka's story.
Yeah.
It challenges us to think about impact in a different way.
Yeah.
It's not just about the big visible things we do. It's about the quality of our presence, the energy we bring to every interaction, every moment.
So beyond the spiritual impact, though, the letter also touches on her family life.
Right.
You know, she was married, had children and grandchildren. And it's important to remember that she wasn't just this ethereal being.
Yeah.
She was a real person living a full human life.
Absolutely. And that's something I find really inspiring. It shows that spirituality doesn't have to be separate from everyday life. It can be integrated into our relationships,
Right.
our families, our work, everything we do.
And it humanizes her, too. You know, I think sometimes when we hear stories about people who are so spiritually advanced, it's easy to put them on a pedestal, to see them as somehow different from us. But Gulabakka was a mother, a grandmother, a wife. She faced challenges, she experienced loss, she lived through difficult times. And yet, through it all, she maintained this incredible inner strength and peace.
And that's a powerful message, I think. It reminds us that we don't have to be perfect to be spiritual. We don't have to renounce the world or live in a cave. We can be right here in the messiness of life and still cultivate that inner connection, that quiet strength.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Embracing the human experience while also nurturing that spiritual dimension. And it makes me wonder how we can apply these qualities to our own lives. What does it mean to be a silent guardian in our own families, our communities, even in the world at large?
That's a great question. And we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
We're back. And, before the break, we were talking about how Gulabakka was able to live this life, full of spirituality, but also be a mother, a grandmother, a wife. And it really makes you think about how we can apply those same qualities to our own lives.
It's a powerful challenge, isn't it? To take what we can from her story and find ways to make it our own. Because we may not all be on the same path or have the same experiences.
Right.
But I think there are some universal truths here
Absolutely.
that can resonate with anybody.
When we think about that phrase, silent guardian, what does that even look like in our own lives?
Well, for me, I think it's about recognizing the power of those small acts of kindness,
Yeah.
compassion, and support. It's about showing up for the people in our lives, our families, our friends, our communities, even in small ways.
So it's not about grand gestures
Mm-hmm.
or, trying to be a superhero.
Right.
It's about those little moments of connection, those acts of service that might even go unnoticed, but still make a difference.
Yeah, it could be something as simple
Mm-hmm.
as listening to someone when they need to talk, offering a helping hand to a neighbor, or even just sending good thoughts to someone who's struggling.
It makes me think about what we were talking about before, how our energy can impact people even across continents.
Right.
Gulabakka never went to Australia or America, but she touched people there, like radiating this love and support that went beyond physical distance.
It's a beautiful metaphor, isn't it? For being a silent guardian.
It is.
We might not always see the results, but that doesn't mean we're not making a difference.
It really makes you think about all the silent guardians out there, quietly living their lives, touching hearts in ways we may never even know.
It's a humbling thought.
It is.
That we all have the potential to be those beacons of light, those sources of strength for the people around us.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Gulabakka's life, I want to leave you with a question. What small act of kindness can you offer today? How can you show up as a silent guardian in your world? It doesn't have to be anything big or dramatic. Maybe it's just a smile or a kind word or a moment of genuine connection.
Because I think it's in those small moments that we truly embody Gulabakka's spirit, a life of love and service, and an unwavering belief in the good of the human heart.
Beautifully said. And with that, we'll leave you to ponder that question. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep shining your light, no matter how quiet or grand it may be.